All right, so this is ninth grade lit, and we are studying Beowulf. I'm sorry, I'll say that probably for a couple weeks, but this is Song of Roland, and I'm going to give some notes about this. You mind getting that, Tim?
Who's remote in this class?
What's that?
Who's remote in this class?
I mean, I don't think anybody right now, but I just trying to, if I don't do it regularly, I'll completely forget it. I'll never do it. So you can always look at it too. Yeah, I think things that are better in that area. I don't think we're having, we had that first month or so, we had a lot of people out, but since you mentioned it, we're not really doing that right now. All right, it's called Song of Roland. It's from a French epic poet. So all that you learned about epic poetry from Beowulf applies here. Although it's a different epic poem, it has different emphases. There are a lot of differences, but it is epic. And it's called Song because, like Roland, it was at least accompanied by music, probably a lyre, a guitar, or something like that. It was recited. I guess it could have been sung. I don't know that we know that, but certainly it was recited, and then the music was in the background. So I would say that's why we call it Song of Roland. And here's some questions. There are 5 big questions about the book that will help you study for the test, even for the exam. So there was somebody or two, not too many of you, but some people you blanked out on the test when I asked you what are the 5 elements, give me 5 elements of epic poetry. Alliteration is not one of them. That's not what distinguishes. Anybody can use alliteration. Apostrophe is not one. We find these in the book, but that's not what makes the book epic. And so make sure that you remember, because we're going to read 2 more epic poems this year. This is one, and Inferno is another. So you need to remember those basic elements. Secondly, this is a great exam question. How do the Hobbit, Beowulf, and Song of Roland, what do they have in common? You wrote a paper about the Hobbit, you're going to write a paper about Beowulf, so, and then by the time we finish Roland, you'll probably write a paper about that too. 3, how do the events and characters in the Song of Roland differ from historical facts of the same event? This is based on a true story, but it's more legend than it is fact. And so I'm going to show you what about the story is true and anything else is made up. I know you haven't learned about the Crusades yet. Do you know what they were?
No, sort of.
All right, well, you'll learn about it in history, but when you get there. But the Crusades were a war between Christians from Europe and Muslims from the Middle East. It's basically because Islam had taken over Jerusalem. And the allegation was that Muslims were mistreating Christians, even enslaving some of them, in order to protect. And remember, Christians would go back to Jerusalem, sort of in pilgrimage, and Jews left Jerusalem about 70 AD, and were scattered all over the world. So in order to protect Christians, one of the claims was a Christian army, a European army, went to the Middle East and fought the First Crusade. It was the only crusade that the Europeans won. There were like 9 or 10 more, and I think every one of them were basically defeats for the Europeans, the Christians. And it raises great questions like, should they have fought that? Should Christians fight? So you'll be, I'm sure, talking about these things. But this book is really about a crusade-like event against Islam by Charlemagne in the French. And finally, should be a question you could ask of all literature that you read, is what does the poem or the book teach about what we should do or how we should live? That's a great classical question. You can read a non-Christian book and still learn things, because they may even get some of it right, even though they're definitely not a Christian. The writer's not. You can still learn things about, I don't want to be like that guy. I don't want to be like that person. Or that person is very admirable. I want to be like him or her. So these are just some basic questions to help you remember the book. Okay, tape. I asked the question, I'd forgotten where Chris is from, and asked the question last period, anybody here know how to speak French? And Chris, your classmate, I don't know where he lives in Canada, but he's from Canada.
He's a
Where?
You know how what does we're down here. I'm not very good with skates, but there's the ones that are on the very top. He's pretty much even with that. He doesn't go higher than in the United States. He's part in the Canada.
Like Toronto, someplace like that? That's really close.
It's called I think it's called St. Thomas up in Canada.
Okay. Well, he says that when you go to school in Canada, you learn French, because I know that Quebec, that is the national language of Quebec. It's one of the provinces, and so he learned French, and we learn Spanish, but he learned French. So he can help me. Some of these words I just don't know how to pronounce. I took French in high school and middle school.
Did you enjoy it?
I did not. I was not mature enough. I wish I could learn. I wish I'd learned it, but I wasn't mature enough to appreciate it. It was just like a chore. But now I see the value of it. I think that's been always a question here. Could we add another language? Dr. Talbert speaks German, or he can speak. He says he's taught German.
Sign language is a good one too. After
Yes.
next year,
I know I'll put that next
my
one.
mom teaches sign language. After next year, we'll drop Latin in high school. She didn't even have one. I guess with her
You
job.
take it this year?
No, we don't even have it as an option.
choice.
There's a Def Starbucks in DC
You mean
where all the
you couldn't take Latin if you wanted to? Wow. Would you have?
Before, I wanted to try to take
Yeah.
if I could, but I don't think it would have worked out.
I don't know, there's a Latin AP class, and I don't know, if you don't have Latin in ninth grade, that's a disadvantage.
The only thing is though, Latin, all the root words that you would need to know
Absolutely.
are we've learned since second grade, third grade. And so, but Spanish is something if you want to go into certain fields, you should be able to speak a language
Yeah.
that the people that you're serving can.
Isn't
manage.
Spanish a Romance language like that?
Spanish,
Yeah.
French, and Italian.
So Latin could help you with Spanish, right?
Right, and then Spanish also translates pretty well into, or for other languages.
Yeah.
Into Italian specifically.
Yeah.
I'm always impressed with people that speak more than one language. If you know somebody that speaks broken English with an accent, they're bilingual. Think about it that way. They know this is not their native language. They know how to speak another language fluently, and they know how to speak English pretty well. I don't. I can't speak any other language. So anytime you hear somebody who doesn't speak English well, it's because they know more languages than you do. All right, so here's the facts about this book. There are some facts, because it's based on a true story. It takes place, it's based on an event that took place in a specific year. We know exactly the year, 778, AD 778. and it was a battle. Unlike Beowulf, we did know 400, 500, somewhere in there. But we know exactly when this event took place. And we know where it took place. Spain. Speaking of Spanish. Although isn't the Spanish you learn in Spain a little different from, say, in South America?
The slang is slightly
Would it
different
be
than the
s-
accent.
In
Would it
Spain,
be the Spaniards though?
yeah,
What?
the Spaniards came over to
Right.
Central America, South America, colonized there, and they brought over the language, so that's why.
And it gets
they speak
changed.
But can't you speak fluent Spanish?
Well, and you speak fluent English. That's so cool.
I'm fascinated by little kids who grow up with one parent who speaks Spanish and
Yeah.
one parent who speaks English, and they just grow up
Yeah.
with both.
That would be the best way to do it, wouldn't it? All right, so that's where who? All right, who's factual in here? Well, the French army is led by Emperor Charlemagne, and he's 38 years old. That's a fact.